isn't necessarily the death of Catholicism in America. It seems much more to be the death of mainline or liberal Christianity in America. And we see this by looking quite clearly at the trajectories of the two different groups of Protestants. The Pew Research stuff from 2025 breaks out evangelicals, historically Black Protestants, and mainliners. And in particular, it finds that while there's this overall downward trend, it has stabilized. It hasn't affected everyone equally. So evangelicals went from being 26% of the population to 23% of the population. That's a relative decline of about 11%. But in that same time period, mainline Protestants have just bottomed out. They've lost just shy of 40% of their members. They were 18% of the population. They're now 11% of the population. That is a worse decline than Catholicism has experienced. So that suggests this isn't a Catholic Protestant issue. This is much closer to a theologically liberal versus theologically conservative issue. Another way you can get there is Pew also asked people about whether they consider themselves liberal or conservative. And so just as you've got a clear difference in the trajectories of mainliners who are dying and evangelicals who are struggling but surviving, well, similarly, you have a slight decline among conservatives and a shocking rate of decline among liberals. So in the words of the Pew study, 37% of self-described liberals today identify with Christianity. 37%. That's down from 62% in 2007. In 2007, if you were to approach say 3 liberals, probably 2 of them would be Christian. Today, 1 of them would be Christian. That's a big decline. Additionally, most liberals now report having no religion, 51%, compared to 27% in 2007. So, okay, now you approach 4 rather than 3. If you approached 4 liberals and said, what's your religious affiliation? Chances are 1 of them in the past would have said nothing. Now 2 of them would say that. So this is a pretty striking case that there are now more religious nones, so unreligious or unaffiliated people, than Christians among the population just of liberals. This is unprecedented. 89% of conservatives back in 2007 described themselves as Christian. Today, 82%. So you still have a decline, but it is a way smaller decline. So if you think about this, not in terms of Catholic Protestant things, but in terms of liberal, conservative, both politically or more importantly, theologically, then you can see, I think, a much better explanation for the data.